This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for Sunday, the 8th of September. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. We obviously had a pretty interesting week on the on equities, and I've been having a very close look at it. And I'll share my conclusions as I'm going through. What I would say is that obviously, if you've been watching the pre-market webinars, we have still got a week 60-minute buy signal fixed, and I'm leaning towards that making target. We've got the new weekly pivot at 49.94.50. Sorry, 54 at 94.50, and that's actually not a bad match with declining resistance. I'm thinking we'll probably see a bit of a rally. We've got a fair amount of, we closed the week on quite a lot of positive divergence, and I'm leaning towards seeing a rally. And after that rally, we will see what happens. But I'm not seeing any major signs below, and I do have some new targets down after Friday's move. So we shall see. All right, looking at NQ. NQ, no positive divergence, declining resistance. Again, not a bad match with the new weekly pivot, which is at 18.827. On RTY. RTY, we've got, again, week 60-minute buy signal fix. Hasn't made target yet. If we didn't already have one, actually, I think this is a full signal now. We've had a full signal fix on Friday. So I'm leaning towards seeing a bit of a rally. Don't know how long it's going to last. But again, declining resistance, not a bad match with the new weekly pivot at 2134.80. On YM, no current positive divergence. We made the possible near-miss target on the buy signal, so I called it there. Declining resistance, and this has come down the least. I have marked a head and shoulder breakdown here, which would have a target in about the 40,000 area. 40,000 area. So, and we haven't reached that yet. So my lean is down. Short term, I'm thinking we'll probably see a bit of a rally, but declining resistance is higher here than the new weekly pivot. Not a lot higher. It's 47.76, and I've got that at just under 41,000. Looking at DAX and the STX, which have not really been trading the same, but have been going down as well. DAX. No current positive divergence. New weekly pivot is 18.541. Again, not a particularly bad match with the declining resistance. And ESTX, the same, except that we've got double resistance, weekly pivot, monthly pivot, both of them in the 48.20 area. 60-minute buy signal fixed here. That's a full-size one, which is the only full-size one really we've got at the moment. Possibly one more. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Now, let's start off with the 5-minute chart on the SPX, and this looks like a falling wedge, which I was saying on Friday morning was a pretty decent looking bull flag. Now, if you see what happened to it, we broke up and then we fell down. That's got a target. And I would note, I would note that we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed on Friday, and we've also got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed on here. Hang on, I'm just going to fix that right now because actually I've written RSI 5 when it's RSI 14. But we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed near the close. So these are reasons to lean towards seeing an initial rally, at least on Monday morning. And we'll see how it goes from there. These are not very strong buy signals, but they are buy signals. In terms of this as a flag, which then basically overthrew and broke down in the lower probability direction, this has actually got a target too, and the target is at 52.80. And I'll be coming back to that kind of number in a little while when we go through to the daily charts. On the hourly charts, no current divergence, but it wouldn't be hard to set some up. We're pretty close to a back test of this broken flag resistance, which is in the 53.50 area. Possible support there, and we do have other possible supports around here. Not the 45 DMA. Which we never got that far above. We've obviously got support resistance at the daily middle band at 55.37, and we've got the daily lower band at 53.50, and I would not expect to reach the 3SD lower band, which is currently at 52.50. This is an important trend line here. If we get through this, this is channel support on SPX. If we break down below 52.50, then we'll be breaking, well, one, we'll be getting through the 3SD lower band, which would be a very strong sign of an imminent rally. But we would also be breaking the rising support here. Now, this is a rising channel support, and on this channel depends a possible target which we could still make on channel resistance, which I've got about, well, probably about the 58.50 area at the moment. But obviously, if we break the channel on the downside, the channel resistance will no longer be a target. But that is, when I was talking about 5280 for that target, this would be a bit below, depending on the time taken to reach it, but we'll see. But it won't be terribly long until that actually, by the end of the month, this will be at 5300. So no, obviously we've got quite a lot of months left. The other thing to mention here is on the weekly middle band. This is often a decent support area, and you can see after we broke up from it late last year, we saw a back test of that in May, and that held beautifully. Then we saw a week below and then recovered back above it. You can see how that's held as support there. It's broken, then it's reestablished as support. This is a big level, and I'll be watching it carefully. But what you have to remember, of course, is it only really matters a lot at the end, at the weekly close. But this is if we see a break below this next week, then that could mean quite a lot. Although I'd be obviously looking for them. Confirmation of that on the downside next at the end of the week. But this is actually not bad support, and I've got that at 54.06. All right, let's have a look at NDX. NDX on the 5-minute chart, this could be, it's not a bad falling wedge. Not bad at all, actually. That's a very nice lower trend. That's a very, very nice lower trend line. So I am wondering whether this is a falling wedge where we could be heading up to see the wedge resistance, which I've currently got in about the 18,730 area. Looking at the 15-minute chart, no current divergence. We do have, again, a head and shoulders here, and it's not a bad one. It's got a target down in about the 17,650 area. And I'm thinking it may make it. This has been the weakest of the main indices, obviously, so far. On the hourly chart, no current divergence, or at least nothing worth the mention. And obviously, we saw a fail at this resistance area. I am wondering if, as part of a larger overall bull flag, whether we might make a lower low here. But I don't have a specific target for that at the moment. Looking at the daily chart, where we've got the new week pivot at 18,753. We are testing the daily lower band here, and you've got to remember the bands. We haven't been declining for long. The bands aren't expanding yet. They haven't really stopped contracting yet, although I think they may be stopping with that. This is not favouring a lot of downside in the near future. I mean, we could do it in a really, really strong move, but we've no evidence that this move is that strong yet. I'm not expecting to see a lot of downside until this has had a chance to turn down, which is probably going to take another week. So I'm thinking we don't go down hard next week. We'll see whether I'm right. Okay, in terms of, but we will do start doing things if we do go down hard next week, like hitting the 3SD lower band, which is generally a very, very good buy signal. Looking at the Dow chart, 5-minute buy signal there too. Not a bad looking little channel here, actually, so I'm watching that with interest. So in terms of the 15-minute chart, no current divergence. I'm drawing this in as a potential flag that had broken down, but to be honest, it wasn't high enough quality to for me to see that as a likelihood. So I've got declining resistance there, and I'm watching that. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the declining resistance. It's not the SPX chart, although I was thinking there might be a similarity. In terms of the 60-minute chart with the weak RSI 14 sell signals, finally reached the possible near-miss target, so I'm not really expecting anything more from it, but I am thinking we might go lower. I would say, on the bigger picture, I was expecting SPX to give us this as well, and it didn't. And it might still. But I would note that we've got this very nice looking overall potential double top here. Now, it's weakened by the fact that we don't have it on IWM, on SPX, or on NDX either. But it is something I'm keeping an eye and watching. And particularly if we go back and make a new all-time high on SPX, then we will have two of these setups here. Dow has been the strongest from the high and has now broken below the daily middle band, but not with any huge conviction. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. We'll have a quick look at the other equities as well. Okay, IWM, this looks like a little bear triangle at the close on Friday, but we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed. 15-minute, no current divergence. Nice looking declining resistance, steep declining resistance. Again, we have another head and shoulders here, and it's not bad. This has got a target in the 201 area, which would obviously be significantly below, but we could take another week or so to reach that. In terms of the hourly chart, no current divergence. Not really looking at any bigger picture patterns here beyond this rising wedge, which has broken down. And this could, at the moment, this looks like a bull flag. Now, of course, the double top on Dow may be a bull flag too, as a double top that breaks down and then fails back up into the high is, of course, basically another form of bull flag. This could be a bull flag too. We could be looking at the same happening on SPX and NDX. Looking at the daily chart, we're still on an RSI 14 buy signal. We still haven't made target on that. Well, we got pretty close to the possible near miss target here. We've seen a conviction break of the daily middle band, and this hasn't broken. I've got this wedges broken here, and we didn't make a new high, so I'm not inclined to move the trend lines here. But this could well be an overall bull flag for me. All right, looking at DAX quickly, we've got another beautiful double top on here as well. We've broken slightly below the daily middle band at the close on Friday, but not by a great deal. I'm not expecting this to play out to the downside, but it is something I'm keeping an eye on. We will see. That's the daily middle band. That was a significant but not strong conviction. DAX has been holding up more like Dow than SPX. Looking at Nikkei daily, we've seen a nice little retracement, but it's by no means. There was a beautiful little top here, and it went down and made the target suddenly, and then recovered much of it suddenly. We've not been seeing that kind of pace to the downside this time. All right, great. In that case, let's move on to the US dollar.
This conference will now be recorded.
Right, now looking at the dollar, we've seen a retracement here. We've got almost back to the low. There is another possibility here that I hadn't drawn out that we should be bearing in mind. Now, when we reach this trend line here, I've rolled this into December, by the way. When we reach this trend line here, then this was a really, really nice support trend line. And I was saying that, of course, we could go and touch the corresponding trend line, which is now in about the 102.50 area. We saw a pretty hard fail here, and that could continue to fail. But what I would note is we've got a possibility here that, of course, we're forming a larger flag. Now, that possibility, hang on, wait a second. Sorry, let me just draw that in. That possibility would involve us doing something like this. This would be the support trend line. We would come back up and do something like this, or basically get back up to the monthly pivot or slightly above. If we were to follow these trend lines, hang on, let's just take it from here, then you can see a possible flag forming that could get us back up into that area, depending on how long it took. So if you see, hang on 1 second, sorry, it's not being, there we are. Right. You can see it might take a few weeks, but we could actually form this flag and hit this trend line. I am wondering if we might do that, but it wouldn't surprise me to just see this continue down. We will see. But we are looking at a turn on some of these things, and I'll show you that when we come into the ZB chart. All right, looking at the US dollar chart, on the daily chart, we've seen a move almost back to the low, but not quite. That was a fail at the daily middle band, and that could continue to hold as support. Sorry, as resistance. But if it doesn't, then we've got a shot at getting up into this trend line here, just slightly over 102.5. And I'm thinking that's definitely an option. We could do that. In terms of the buy signals, we've got an RSI 5 buy signal here, and it hasn't made target on DX, and we've got an RSI 14 buy signal, and that hasn't made target either. We've got the same setup on the US dollar indices. I'm still thinking that might have a shot. So I'm waiting to see, but making a higher low and then going up again, as it looks as though we might be doing, is a classic forming a flag setup. All right, let's have a look at TNX. Sorry, ZB first. Now, ZB, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fix, and we've almost retested the high. But what I would note is on TNX, which I tend to use more, well, apart from anything else, you can make long-term charts on TNX, which you can't on ZB. But here, we've actually done a full retest of the low. This could be a double bottom. We've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed. We've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed on the hourly chart. On the daily chart, we've got a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing. We've got a possible support trend line here for what could be a bull flag. Now, this would involve bonds going down a lot, and that's not necessarily that compatible with interest rates going down, as it looks as though they're going to be. But I'm just making you aware of the setup. There is a potential setup here for a sizable rally, and possibly one that will even retest this 49.97, which I'd love to see, but I fear we've missed the opportunity to do that. We will see, because on the bigger picture, that could give us a beautiful double top for a much larger decline in TNX and rise in bonds. But we will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at CL. CL, on the bigger picture, we've broken down from a triangle. Smaller picture, no current positive divergence, and nothing strongly suggesting we're about to turn. Looking at NG. NG, this looks like a bear flag forming, setting up probably a move lower, but there is scope to go higher, and this could be a larger flag forming where this was the support trend line and we were heading up back up into about the 2.5 area. Watching that with great interest. We've got a triangle there too, but it's not really at the same stage as the oil triangle. So let's have a look at that. This is the oil triangle. And you can see we formed it. It's a beauty, and it's broken down. That's got a target down at a retest this low here at 63.57. This is a slightly wider view. If we reach that, then actually could make a very nice looking double bottom to start a big move up. And what I'm thinking is that we might see weakness in energies for the next 2 or 3 months, and then actually start a fairly serious looking bull run next year, because we could set up a beautiful double bottom there. On NG, no idea whether it's going to retest this 1.522, but if we did, and this triangle here would normally be a bearish triangle overall. If we did, then we could set up a beautiful double bottom there, again, for a very sizable rise. And I'm thinking we might be basically setting up for a run next year, for the rest of this year with more weakness. We'll see whether I'm right, but I'm thinking that is the way it's leaning towards going at the moment. Looking at GC, GC, this looks like a bull flag forming. I was talking about this when we were up here and suggesting that we could see, if we were forming a proper flag, we could go down and see the 2500 area. You can see we almost made it. So that could be enough. So the question is, what's the dollar going to do? Now, ideally, if the gold's going to go up, then the dollar goes down. Now, bigger picture, I think the dollar is going down. The question is when. Keeping an open mind on that dollar at the moment, so I'm keeping an open mind here too, but that's a nice looking bull flag forming at the moment. On SI, this is a nice looking double bottom here. We've come back and retested this low, and I gotta say, we are looking at some bullish looking divergences on metals, which I'll come to on the RTH charts. This could be a double bottom here. Nice looking double bottom, if it is a double bottom. HG. HG hasn't retested the low, and hasn't quite made it to the obvious head and shoulder target, which I've marked in. So it might need to go a little lower. That would form a double bottom here too, which again could start off a nice little bull move. Let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on gold, no current divergence, holding the daily middle band as support at the moment. And as long as that holds, that's a pretty good level to be holding. It's looking at silver. Silver, we're below the daily middle band, but not a great deal below it. We've been chopping up and down through it. Do we have positive divergence here? Yes, so I haven't marked it in, but we've got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing here. And we've got a possible weak RSI 5 buy signal brewing on the SI chart too. This could be a double bottom, and it's quite a nice one. Has it made the double bottom, the double top target? Pretty much, but not quite. Palladium, we've gone lower. I was saying that I wasn't really seeing either of these as a buy. This could go lower still. Platinum, I was suggesting, could go lower and possibly get down to this trend line here, which would be in about the 880 area. Hasn't done the yet, but it could yet do that. HG. HG, we've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed. No current positive divergence on the RSI 5, but we could get some if we come back and retest this low. Looking at copper, weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed. The RSI 5 buy signal we had at the same time has made target. And at the moment, we've broken up over declining resistance, and we're finding resistance at the 50 DMA. Right, looking at gold. On GDX, we've got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing on the daily, and we've got another one on GDXJ. On the hourly chart, that's a possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing, and same on GDXJ. This is poised potentially to go up. So if dollar actually just heads straight down, we could see the metals move up quite strongly. We shall see. We're not really seeing that on palladium and platinum, but there's decent looking setups on the others. We will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. Right.
This conference will now be recorded.
Right, let's have a look at KC, where it looks like we are still forming a bull flag. Now, this is only retraced about 50% so far, so this is a nice looking bull flag. As and when it breaks up, which it should do, although, as I've noted earlier, not all bull flags break up. But if this bull flag does break up, then I'd be looking for a retest of this high. Looking at sugar. This looks like a bull flag as well. So again, 60-minute sell signals reached possible no miss target. I'm leaning towards the upside here. Could this be a head and shoulders? Well, it could be a head and shoulders, which looks very, very like a flag. But I think more likely it's a bull flag forming. CC, nice little rally here. Hasn't broken over declining resistance. Still wondering about a possible test of this this low here, which is this trend line here, which is in the 6700 area. If we do see that, that could set up a nice looking little double bottom for a next move up. CT, this has gone lower, below the weekly pivot, below the monthly pivot, almost pretty close to some positive divergence here on the hourly chart. I am wondering if this is failing into a retest of the low. Nice looking double bottom, but often these fail. This may be failing. It's getting a little low for my comfort now. I'm thinking that we may well just head straight down and retest the low soon. ZW, I'm thinking this may well be an inverted head and shoulders, and we may be forming a right shoulder here. If so, the ideal right shoulder low would be at the monthly pivot at 549. Corn, again, thinking might see an eye chest right shoulder forming here, messier than the wheat one. And again, could be watching that here. We'll have a look at those on the daily charts. We've got a 60-minute sell signal here. That's already reached possible no miss target. Pretty close to obvious support, which is the monthly pivot at 999. Looking at lumber. This looks short-term, like a bear flag. I'm wondering about a retest of this low to set up a possible second low of a double bottom. There is an alternative here. This could be a head and shoulders forming. That would be the left shoulder, that would be the head, that would be the right shoulder. A strong breakdown below 505 would be looking for a retest of the low in the 473 area. Looking at live cattle, maybe setting up a retest of the low here. Getting pretty close to retest the low. That could set up a nice looking double bottom. This no longer looks like a possible RHS forming. Looking at lean hogs, we've got a little double top here which is broken down. Obvious support at the monthly pivot or below it would be the target at 78.125. We've got a 60-minute sell signal here, and it's now reached the possible no miss target, so we shall see. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And on KC, no current divergence. This could be a double top already. This doesn't need to retest the high. We broke down below the daily middle band with some confidence. This is slightly more doubtful, but we do still have a pretty nice setup for a bull flag. SB, no current divergence. We've broken over this declining resistance here. We've got a nice looking double bottom. At the moment, this looks like a bull flag too, and we're holding on to the daily middle band. CC. Cocoa RSI 14 sell signal reached possible near missed target, so I've pretty much disregarded it for a while now. We've broken up from the triangle, we've pulled back, still leaning towards more upside here. Although it could be that we're just forming a large, more extended triangle, and that we've got further to go on that. On wheat, RSI 14 buy signals fixed. We haven't made target yet. We reached possible IHS neckline, and I'm wondering about a pullback to 550.20 area to form the right shoulder. On corn, could this be an inverted head and shoulders? Possibly. But I'm not really favouring it. That would be a very steep lower trend line. Waiting to see what happens here. We're still on an RSI 14 buy signal fixed there as well. RSI 14 buy signal also fixed on soy. Got almost to the head and shoulders neckline. This would be less improbable as an inverted head and shoulders, but because it's not got close enough, then ideally the right shoulders would bottom out into a similar sort of area, and it seems unlikely this would do it here. I'm still thinking that we may well go higher and then form a right shoulder on both of these. So we shall see. No divergence on any of these, negative divergence on the daily charts. On cotton, RSI 14 buy signal fixed, and if we retest the low, I'll be thinking that's probably the second low of a double bottom. And that would be pretty classic. Nice looking pattern here, it's broken up, we come back, retest the low, and then go. So I think overall lean, I'm still bullish. But I am thinking we might retest the low first. Obviously, we're lost the daily middle band. We shall see. And that's a wrap. We'll see. Should be an interesting week next week. I'm particularly interested in what happens to the dollar and what happens after we probably see a rally at the open on Monday. So thinking we can go lower next week on equities, but I don't think it's going to be an awful lot lower because we're getting pretty close to the 3SD lower bands on some of these, and that tends to be very, very good support unless we're actually starting to look like a crash situation. I'm not seeing much reason to think that would happen here. I was saying in my last post that I thought the history was suggesting that September might be a pretty crappy month for equities, and I don't think we've seen anything to contradict that so far. It could continue to be a crappy month for equities, but I don't think it's likely to be a meltdown. In terms of targets below, I do have a possible trend line we could get to in the 4600 area, but I'm thinking if we do that, then we would probably be looking at a move that would extend into October and be making that low then. We would see, and that could start a bull run into next year. We shall see. Do I see much sign that the apocalypse is happening on equities? No. Not really. I think we probably need to do some more work on the upside before we had a decent setup for that. We didn't do enough on this one now. So we'll see. All right, cheers. See you next week, and obviously I'll be back for the pre-market webinar on Monday morning.